Just a bit. And meanwhile, details of tens of millions of voters could have been accessed by hackers who targeted the election watchdog. We'll come to that story in just a second. Will Gart is our technology correspondent. He's with us here right now. So let's run through this, Will. I mean, this is incredibly serious given the security and sensitivity nature of the location here. These are Northern Ireland serving police officers. What the hell has happened?
Well, this is very calamitous, because essentially what's happened here, in the normal cut and thrust of duty, somebody has sent what you call a freedom of information request to the police, asking for the number of serving officers. Rather than just getting the number of serving officers, somebody has actually sent them the spreadsheet, which contains the information of every member of staff that works there. So unlike some of the other data breaches and situations we've heard of over recent times, and the next one we're going to talk about, this is pure human error. Somebody has had a bad day at the office, they thought they had to send the person this particular document, and that's what they've done. The bigger issue for me, what the hell is a police force doing with every member of staff's information in an unencrypted Excel database? That's not the place where you should keep sensitive information like this, particularly somewhere like Northern Ireland, where we've been told there are all the many security sensitivities. So I'd like to have a good understanding of how on earth all of this information ended up in one document, Ian, that anybody could seemingly pull off of a computer and send. There seemed to be no chain of command.
The fact that it's all in one place, and you have to assume, you know, even without specifically knowing, but you would have to assume in that area of 10,000 staff, some of those staff will be working in very sensitive areas. It
reveals people who work for MI5 in Northern Ireland. Some of these officers do work, there's around 40 officers have contacts and connections to MI5. It signifies next to their date, their record, whether or not they work for MI5. This is the level of stupidity, incompetence, whatever you want to suggest, is at play here. You've got the police in Northern Ireland now saying, if you've got this document, delete it, which is the most ridiculous bit of advice I think I've ever heard. And you're now in a situation, Ian, whereby I hope the company that posted this, because just to make it clear, this found its way onto a website in a perfectly legal way. This was a freedom of information request, and those responses get published to a website, or can be published to a website if you're opted in. So this particular document got copied to that website legitimately because it was provided to the website company. Within 2.5 hours they knew about it and they removed it. But I wonder if they're now saying to the police it had this number of downloads in that period of time, or we could see the number of people who got their hands on it. Because if it's in low numbers and you've got IP addresses, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that you can go and knock on a door and say, have you still got that document?
You don't need this document. So no other way to put this. This happened because somebody pressed send.
Yeah, on an email. It's as simple as that. What's happened here, somebody has been asked to reply to this freedom of information request. What they would typically say is, here's the number of people, and we're not giving you any more information because that's sensitive information. But mistakenly, somebody's gone, okay, and I'll send you the list of every member of staff. And they've said it was a junior member of staff. I feel that's a really poor excuse, because when you're dealing with information as sensitive as this in somewhere like Northern Ireland,
makes it even worse. If that's there, so it was a junior. How would a junior member of staff have access to that?
But on the opposite end of that, you've got politicians in Northern Ireland now saying heads should roll, the boss of the police should go, etc., etc. Let's find out exactly what caused this particular problem first. But this goes back to a systematic disregard for the importance of data and information.
True.
Lots of people do it. Lots of organisations do it. We'll never know why an organisation with really properly sensitive information had it all bunged in one unencrypted, unpassworded, unprotected Excel document.
Yeah, that would be extraordinary, even from an internal perspective, that you would have all of that in one place.
Well, yeah, the bosses here, for example, wouldn't have all of our details in one particular spreadsheet.
Absolutely right. It would be divvied up. There'd be security considerations. But again, what you just said is true. The amount of companies that don't really get the data thing, they're not even aware of the severity or the potential misuse of data.
The bigger issue here, normally in this situation, you'd now say to me, Will, how do you protect your data? My answer here, glibly, is don't work for the police in Northern Ireland. Not from a sense of humour perspective. There's nothing you could do.
Yeah.
This is the same as anybody who finds himself in the modern day caught up in these data breaches. This is nothing to do with you. Your information, because you work somewhere, is saved somewhere, and somebody has accidentally pressed send on it. So there's very little you can do to protect yourself as a human being in that situation.
Let's look at the other data story here. This is more of a cyber attack. This is something rather different. Now, the information that was apparently received by hackers isn't quite so explicit as what we saw with Northern Ireland, but the numbers are huge. Tens of millions of voters have been accessed by hackers who targeted the election watchdog. Again, questions will be asked about what kind of security they have in place. This is disturbing because we don't fully know where it came from either.
And the doozy with this one is the attack started in October 2021. They discovered, I think it was August last year, they discovered that this has happened, and it's taken this long for them to actually tell us that this breach has happened. Now, there are some reasons that that may have been the situation. They may have been trying to ascertain who this foreign threat or external actor was in the situation, and that's why there was a significant delay. Yeah. But it still goes to say in these situations that they knew this happened a long time ago, and they didn't tip us off as the people whose information it is that's impacted. They're saying up to 40 million records could have been affected on this.
Wow.
Lots of people speculating who it might be, etc. At the moment, there's no information out there which suggests it's the Russians. There's no information out there that suggests it's North Koreans. There's no information out there that suggests anything at all at the moment. So anybody who's speculating any further is purely just speculating. But this is just going back into the situation, Ian, that our personal data now is super valuable to anybody. Foreign states, external crime organisations. Yeah. This could have been just somebody having a sniff around.
It could have been Bob in Arbroath in his bedsit with a joystick. It might have been.
I don't think it. I think it was highly unlikely that Bob in Arbroath had got his joystick out on this occasion.
He likes data, does our Bob.
But this could potentially be, if we were theorising, this could be a foreign state looking at how our systems work ahead of a general election or something like that.
That's the point, isn't it?
And nobody knows at the moment. And what seems to be happening, or what we seem to now be understanding, is that they were aware of it and they were trying to work out what that organisation's next move was before they were tipped off.
And it's interesting that I've heard people say, well, actually, there wasn't much in this data. It was just sort of like, there was an initial, your addresses weren't there and whatever. Regardless of that, the overarching point is that this could be done. Someone was able to do it and do it successfully. So this could have been a phishing exercise from an external agent or actor, as they say. Could have been anything.
The boss of the Electoral Commission has come out and said we need to do more to improve our security. It's one of those, I nearly swore then, but it's one of those events where you're like, yeah, well, you should have done that before. It's like almost like when somebody suggests, oh, I wish I'd taken out insurance for X, Y or Z after the situation. The reality is security is invisible and not very sexy, and you only know about it when it goes wrong. So companies don't want to spend the millions and millions of dollars or pounds to keep up to speed and up against everybody else, because it's going to cost them money that's taken away from other systems.
As you rightly say, you can't see the tangible benefits of spending out all that money.
Exactly.
But of course, by not spending it, then you end up with situations such as this.